My name is Lynn Perdue. I am a two-term Republican councilman at large, actually. And I've enjoyed the past 8 years on the council, learned a lot, and with that, there's a lot to be done, and I feel very encouraged about it. Let me point out one thing. I have a tendency to get a little windy, so I'm sure you guys can cut me off at that, but I was telling, right now I'm in the middle of a battle with shingles. So I'm on some pretty good meds right now. So if I say something stupid, I get a pass, right? Okay. So we'll just get that out of the way. Now, I'm local. I was born here, lived here, 67 years. Graduated from high school here. Still here with my wife. Our kids, unfortunately, both moved out of town, which I hate to see, and that's one of the things I hope we address, because it's a big thing with me. Is we got to find a way. We got to find a way to get young families in our town. And people are always screaming about jobs. That's not an issue, people. We have jobs, and personally, I don't care where they work. I just want you to live in Newcastle. I want the families to attend our churches. I want the families to attend our schools, support our local businesses, our sports teams, all of those things. I know there's a lot of work to be done to get them in town. Well, my daughter left town. She was a teacher at the high school. And when she left town for other employment opportunity, took my grandkids with her. It crushed me, but I'm over it now. But they didn't move far away. They just moved to Yorktown. But she got a wonderful opportunity. She teaches at Ball State. But, I walk a lot, and I walk around town, and I just see what's left from a UAW-built community. And there's just a lot of homes in town that just don't fit for young families today, what they're looking for. So we just don't have the proper housing for a lot of young families to move back to town. And, we need to start there. In my own home church, and Ralph sitting there, we belong to the same church. When I see that, some of the larger churches in town, like the Methodist Church downtown, Presbyterian Church, which are iconic buildings downtown. When I see the average congregation in those on Sunday between 60 and 80 people, and it used to be in the hundreds, we need to address that. We need to grow as a community. That's just one of those things that's hard to do. I'm not going to rattle on about all things, so I'll just leave it for some questions. But I've been involved with a lot of things, in this community, a lot of service organizations. I've been a president of a lot of different organizations, and I feel like I'm very well informed on what goes on in our city. I listen to everybody, and I think I'd be a good candidate to run, make a third term at it. So I'm hoping I get elected for that. Do we ask questions now, or?
No, we'll wait till everybody's done. But
Okay.
I was just going to tell you were just in time. Just barely over 2 minutes.
Good deal, then. All right.
Yeah.
I'll sit down.
Mike, go ahead. Mike Mattingly, running for Ward 5.
Good evening. As Clay said, my name is Micah Mattingly. I am running for Ward 5. I recently moved to Newcastle about 3 years ago with my wife and with our kids. My wife is a teacher at the local school system, and I have 4 kids within the local school system. The reason I've decided to run is based on a couple of reasons. Number one, I feel that the current administration and leadership does not actively represent the demographic of Newcastle. If you look at the council as it's currently constructed, there's one councilman that has kids in the school system. The rest of the gentlemen have probably grandkids and older children. But we need an actual representation of what the families of Newcastle are going through. We need a Republican representative within the council that has kids in the school system, that knows what it's like to deal with daycare issues, that feels the same pain that you're dealing with when it comes to groceries and home and how to manage that home. You need a voice and actual representation on the council on the Republican side to truly represent Newcastle and her voice. The other thing is, as a business owner, I run M&M Painting, a local business painting company here out of town. It bothers me to see, it doesn't bother me, I'm happy to see a lot of the progress and a lot of things that's happening downtown. It's beautiful, it's historic, it's pivotal for our past, our present, and our future of our city. But there's more to Newcastle than downtown. There's other businesses, there's other homes that need that attention, that needs that love that Main Street provides to downtown, to the programs like BRAP that offers downtown. We need those programs, and we need ideas to spark economic development all the way down Indiana, all the way through Memorial and 3 and all the other. We need those times, and we need those programs to help with those businesses. It's very important. And lastly, I would like to be the voice of my ward. I want to make sure that every single person sitting here tonight and those that aren't here have a voice, whether you're Democratic or Republican, whether you're a voter, non-voter, whether you're registered or not. You have a voice. Your voice matters. You and your family matter to here in Newcastle, and I want to make sure that I can be that representative for you guys. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Sean Phillips running for Ward 2.
Hello, how are you doing? Good. I want to ask this. Whether you're a Newcastle citizen or not, how many of you are proud of Newcastle? Good. Majority of your hands. How many people do you think would say that outside of here? I would hope all of them. But there are a few people that what Newcastle once was. And I don't like hearing that. We've got to have a plan, especially as a city council person, to help out and to bring that pride back to Newcastle. We've got to have that pride. With pride, it's going to attract more citizens. It's going to attract people to move into Newcastle. We keep hearing about Main Street. Main Street is beautiful. You're not going to hear me say it's not. They've done a great job with Main Street. But Newcastle is just not Main Street. I've asked people in my ward, who's your city council person? Oh, we're in city limits? Yeah, we're in city limits. We're on the west side of 3. People on that side of town do not feel like they're part of the city at all. We need to open that, and as a city council person, I need to make sure they know who I am. Whether that be if I'm elected to have a town hall meeting once a month with my constituents, whether that's a mailer, whether that's going around and collecting everybody's email addresses by myself. I have to let them know that I'm there for them. That when they have an issue or they have a problem, they know who to contact. I can't guarantee I can get it handled. I can't guarantee I can get it solved. But I will present it to the city, to the other council members, to let them know I'm there. We've got to make sure roads get paved. We need to make sure jobs come around. Franchises are great, but I'd like to see more mom and pops. State Road 3 can be what it once was. End-to-end businesses. We've got to be able to draw those in. There's a lot of stuff out there financial-wise that we have to get on top of first. I'm not going to go into that because I don't feel that I know enough to talk about it yet. And that's one thing I'm going to have to do is dig in and see what the issues are and come up with a solution. As a city council person, it's not our job to do the budget. Our job is to approve the budget. But I guarantee as a council person, if there's an issue with the budget, I will question the budget. That's all I've got for tonight. We'll turn it over to the next guys and look forward to hearing your questions.
Next, Cameron Grimm running Newcastle City Council, Ward 3.
First, I'll apologize for being a little bit getting going today. I coach high school bowling, so I came straight from there. I grew up here. I lived, and graduated from Newcastle, and I believe that Newcastle can move to a better direction I've been very active in our community for a very long time. I created the Newcastle Community in Action and the Rock the Arts Park Music Festival to help people in need. We gave money to different charities and people that were financially hurting in very bad times. I also run a bunch of groups like Henry County Jobs, Henry County Homes, to try to get the information out to people. So when it was brought to me to run for city council, I wanted to be even more active, and I found that there was no better way but to run. So I started digging into what was really important to me, and going door to door, I found that there's a lot of people that feel the same way. One of my biggest issues is public safety. Seeing what's going on at Baker Park and the gangs coming in and the kids bringing guns and stuff like that to Osborne Park, that's in my ward, knives and different things like that, homeless people, people and their dogs off their leashes. I definitely believe that we should be patrolling those areas and start really boosting up public safety here, along with mental health programs, along with giving our kids something to do to keep them from getting in trouble in the first place. So that's been a very strong part of my campaigning, along with infrastructure and trying to get things back in track there. So that's where I'm headed. I definitely want to be the voice of the people for Ward 3 for anybody in Newcastle. And one of the things I have done is I created a community questionnaire to get the idea from people that what do you not like in Newcastle? What's lacking in Newcastle? What do you love about Newcastle? Positive and negative on both sides. Because I believe that we need to listen to the people here and what they want and give a direction for the future, because I feel like a lot of them are out of touch. So, yeah, I'm being cut off, so thank you.
Very good. So what I'll do at this time is we'll start taking questions from the audience. We were going to have, on the spur of the moment, see if Mr. Radford wanted to do it, but he can't type and take questions at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and be the one taking the questions. And the way we'll do this is if you have a specific question for a specific candidate, we're willing to take those. Or if your question is just an overall question, then we'll give each candidate, 30 seconds, 45 seconds to answer the question to the best of their ability. Okay? So at this time, let's go ahead. Does anyone want to start us off with the first question? Mr. Button.
I have a question for Lynn, Perdue.
Go ahead, come on up. Yes.
We've heard for years about the county needs to work on brain drain and losing too. And you, to me, had a new and fresh idea of bringing young families here. Do you or the council or both have any plans on how we could do that?
Okay, yes. Infrastructure to start with. Just for some general knowledge, when we talk about Newcastle and the demographic and the pride in our community, Newcastle roughly has 9,300 residents in town, in our city limit. Don't know if you knew this or not, but we're a 40% rental market. So if we're a 40% rental market, and a lot of those landlords are from out of town. So being a 40% rental market, that takes it down to owner-occupied homes in Newcastle is about, city limits around 5,000 people. And we'll say half of those take pride in their properties, the other half just do okay. That's an image problem we have, and we're working on that. But to answer your question directly, we need housing. We have a housing shortage. That's why we're not getting young people. Newcastle's landlocked. Right now we have a development going in the Y area. We've got some other areas that we're developing, but most of them those areas are in the county. Most developers won't consider coming unless they have city sewers and city water. So we have some areas pinpointed that we are going to get utilities to, so those developers can come to town and start building those areas. That answer good?
Does any councilman want to take 15 seconds to add to that, since it was a direct question to Lynn, and then we'll take other questions?
Yeah, I will.
Mike?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that question this time of the season because one of the councilmen had even said that our infrastructure looks like Frankenstein. So we've got to make sure that that's an important topic, but also we've got to take care of the blighted homes that are in the community as well. We got to hold those landlords and those owners responsible, whether that's putting together ordinances or programs that require them to keep the grass cut, the windows fixed, holding them accountable for how the house looks. Definitely would help with the attraction of young people and people buying those homes, but we've got to take care of the infrastructure for sure.
Any other questions? Mr. Hyde?
Follow-up question. So you mentioned infrastructure and water and sewer. So we have new homes going out, this would be for any actually, new homes out by the Y going in. And my understanding from when I served on city council is if you were supplying the services, you can't demonstrate annexation. My question is, are you going to annex that out there in the city limits?
Right now, the administration.
Go ahead and state that, so your voice projects.
Okay. Annexation. That seems like a logical answer to grow our community, but the pushback from that is if we, and you can only annex contiguous property. It has to be adjoining to our city limits. You can't just go out and cherry pick where you want to annex. So if we annex, we have to supply services, trash pickup, road repair, snow removal, all those things that go into that. And honestly, with the budget, we don't have the budget currently to supply all those city services. So you got to be careful when you're talking about annexation. The Blue River Valley has been annexed, and we still don't have. There's no sidewalks. There's no street lights. That we do have trash pickup and snow removal and road repair, but in all honesty, we should be supplying those other things too. But so that's a tricky move right there. And I can tell you right now, the current administration, and speaking of the mayor, annexation is not something he's pursuing at this time.
All right, is any other candidate want to take 10, 15 seconds to follow up anything on that? Okay. Yeah.
All right. One thing that we have to do, we're talking infrastructure, is we've got to seek out grants and other options to help strengthen our infrastructure. That has to be a priority. If you meet with the water department, the sewage department, all those guys, there's stuff that needs to be done. We're patching stuff back and forth, but we need to seek out some grants, what we can, and see what we can get to maintain that. Because with growth, we have to have that. We can't have another factory come in if we don't have the infrastructure there for them to come in. So.
All right. Yes.
I'm in the Education Career Center at Newcastle High School. And this question's any of you, honestly. So we have noticed at the school a large problem with two things. One, safety. Two, drugs. And I know that's kind of a broad topic of drugs and substances of high school students, but what can you do to combat, or what can you do to help combat the problems of vaping and illegal marijuana among teens my age? Or I'm 17, so in high school, right? And it's even happening in the middle school. I know a middle school teacher who, a middle schooler came up to her and was like, my mom does this stuff and I don't want to do it anymore. And gave her all her weed and said, I don't want to do it anymore. So how do you plan on stopping this problem? And how do you plan on helping these kids who have been in these situations overcome those problems?
Let's start with Cameron on this one, go 30, 45 seconds, and then we'll go Micah, John, Lynn.
So something I've talked to Clay about that I very strongly feel about is that we need to have meetings with the school and start having the conversations about what are you having issues with inside the school and how can we kind of help kind of get along with that. I know that drugs are a big issue. I know bullying is something that's been really big on the survey I've passed out. And I know it's a no policy thing there, but it's not being fully regulated because I hear stories all the time about different kids being bullied and everything like that. So it's something I've been very strong about in myself because I've been bullied when I was in school, and it's something I don't stand for. And I even tried to start a program years ago to try to get information. And I think that we need to start bringing in public speakers and stuff like that to try to reach kids and change that, so.
Did you know that Henry County is the leading county out of the state of Indiana with suicide? A high school counselor had told me that bit of information and I was shocked. But we've got to start providing programs and doing things to the young people. We've got to listen to them. They have a voice just as much as mom and dad and everybody else has a voice. We have to pay attention to their needs. Parents have to get involved. If that means bringing back Boys and Girls Club, if that means bringing back these after-school programs to get the kids involved, we've got to figure that out. One thing that's kind of a novel idea that I'm not opposed to, we have a liquor license that manages bars and things that can open up. I know it's kind of out there. I don't know all the details, but I'm not opposed to somehow managing the amount of vape stores that open up. It seems like there's more vape stores than there are gas stations or banks within the community. And I'm not opposed to figuring out how to regulate that or putting in more strict standards that make sure that young people aren't having access to those types of drugs and protecting them.
Phillips.
Well, I have a daughter at the middle school, so I know it's not the best thing in the world, and I've got one that will be there next year. We do have to have meetings with the school board and who the powers may be, but the simple answer is we've got to give some more power back to the teachers. It's out of their hands now, unfortunately. They've got certain rules they have to follow. If there's a fight, they can't break it up. We have to give some more power back to the teachers, and that's something I don't know if as a city council person we can do, but that's the simple answer, is give more power back to the teachers to handle issues.
Great questions, and I appreciate that. My entire family are educators. And safety. We all need to be writing our legislatures. We need funding. I'm a firm believer that we need resource officers in every school, every high school, every grade school, every place that the kids are, we need resource officers there. We do the best we can with our staff, but it takes a tremendous amount of funding to do that. So we need to be writing Washington because they need to release some money to help local municipals in their schools. He mentioned on, yes, teachers are losing the ability to discipline. If they touch a child, then all of a sudden, kids got their cameras out, and it's a real issue. And we are wow, I could go on forever. Teacher education and pay and retention is a big deal with me. We are losing teachers by the groves. Good quality teachers that could address a lot of those things, but until we increase funding to retain those quality teachers and get more administration involved in that discipline, it's going to be a challenge. Okay. Yes?
Do you know where the funding comes from for the schools?
Oh, it's a variety of federal money, state money, local money.
Right, and like you said, right to Washington, I think we need to write to our state legislators because 48% of our local money comes from the state, and the other majority comes from local, comes from our property taxes.
Correct.
So the more you stimulate the economy with the market of buying and selling, the more you buy, the more we bring in to our city, the more businesses, the more property tax.
Correct.
The more property tax, the more we have funding for our schools.
Correct.
So it's a big chain. If you want one thing to prosper, you have to have another area prosper too.
100% agree. That's the way it works. But you know, state funding is correct. Indiana's sitting on there with a $2 billion surplus, and we're all wondering, why are you sitting on it? I mean, there's lots of things that can be used for. So just, yeah, write to your legislatures.
Any other questions before we move on to the clerk treasurer and mayor? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask, I've been an elected official for 11 years in Henry County. I'm the surveyor. And I've worked with the city, and I've had a lot of dealings with business coming into this county, because we deal with them. My question is how are you going to keep business coming in here to keep the city and the county tied together? That's the most important thing when I took my job, that the taxpayers that I looked at, that we want to work together to deal with business coming in. Keep them coming here, less arguing, because we see it at the government level, and it's ridiculous the way we all argue. I'd like to see what you guys are going to do to keep that together, keep the city working with the county.
Let's start with Mr. Phillips this time. You got 30, 45 seconds.
Well, just like you say, everybody's heard the saying, teamwork makes the dream work. The key is we've got to get officials in there that are going to be willing to listen to both sides. Without that, you've got push and shove. It doesn't work. You've got to be willing to make the effort to spend money with the county and the county vice versa. We've seen this with the 911 tax, about not knowing who spent what where. The city kind of knew where it was at, but I guess there was a question with county. I don't know the official things, but two guys got up and walked out before it was hashed out. We can't have that. We've got to sit down and listen with the county and work as a team. We are a team, and that's what it's got to be to succeed.
Mr. Perdue, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm going to quote Reagan. Things get done when nobody wants the recognition for it. Okay? And that's the problem a lot of times with politics. Somebody wants to take recognition for it. And that's where it comes from. Funding's another thing, Steve. You know, our city and our county are so intertwined that, you know, city pays for a lot of things that they feel like they shouldn't be paying for. County feels like they're paying for a lot of things they shouldn't be paying for. And we all have limited funds. Tax caps is a whole new world to deal with. And we're all trying to get that, you know, extra dollar to improve infrastructure, roads, whatever. And it's a tough call, but you know, we got to put all those things aside, and we got to put red and blue aside, and we just got to sit down and make things happen.
All right. Mr. Mattingly.
Just to echo what Lynn and Phillips have said, we've got to put it back on the elected officials. If they're not up to the standard of what you need as far as communicating and willing to sit down and listen to you and work with the rest of the team, then it's your responsibility to get out and elect somebody else that will listen to the people and will work as a team. We're not looking for disruptors. We're looking for people that are going to be the echo of the community's voice. We've got to cut that red tape. We've got to figure out how to get in there, eliminate some things so that things will work seamlessly. But again, that's going to go back on if the person that's elected is not doing what they should be doing and they're not holding it to the standards that you want, vote them out and get somebody else in there that will hold it to the standards that you expect from them.
Sure.
So I think what it boils down to is it's communication and relationships with people. And I agree it's important about having the right people there and voting the right people in that will do that job. But it's also about the responsibility of working together. And for too long, governments have not been working together on both sides. And that's something I believe that we should be doing is it doesn't matter what side, we need to work together and we need to communicate and find a plan that works together because we're all in it together. And I think a lot of things are overcomplicated, and sometimes it's just easier to go back to an easy track, and communication, and that's a pretty good start. So.
At this time, we'll go ahead and we will go to the next phase and have Mr. Corey Button come up. He is our candidate for clerk treasurer. We will give him his 2 minutes, and then I'll take my 2 minutes.
My name is Corey Wayne Button. and I am running for your clerk treasurer. I first moved to Newcastle 7 years ago. I came from the east side of Indianapolis, and I've seen cities die, whole neighborhoods die. When I moved here, I fell in love with the small town vibe that there is here. There's a sense of community. People are proud of what this town once was, and I see what this town could be. I have 4 small children, all in school, under the age of 10. I want them to grow up and be proud of where they're from and not watch their city die like I watched mine die. There's been a lot of talk about infrastructure and about the budget and lack of funding, lack of money. If I can step up and I can find that funding and I can aggressively go after grants and I can build relationships with our local legislators, our state level legislators, to try and find that funding, to go after bonds, to go after grants, to see if there's something that we can do to free up money so we can reinvest in this community, so we can get rid of the blight, so we can fix the infrastructure, the sewage, the water. We've had the water separation project going on for a few years now. And with that, you get the streets repaved when it's all done. Just for a water main to break and you have to cut a hole in a brand new street. Almost immediately after, it happened on Thanksgiving last year, right on Indiana. Then we have to go back and repave a brand new road. That doesn't seem like we're spending money the right way. We should spend our money wiser. We should take care of debt. We should make sure that our city employees are getting the benefits that they deserve and have been promised. We need to be open and honest with the taxpayer. You guys pay taxes. The city doesn't have any money. It's your money. We need to be better stewards of your money to make our town better. Thank you.
Okay, you push the button, you're gonna be my timer, okay?
All right.
All right.
I'll get up over here. Get this line of sight.
Okay, so I'm Clay Morgan. Most of you know who I am, so I'll get straight to the point. You've heard a lot of things about the budget issues, the infrastructure issues, and you have hit the nail on all of these have hit the nail on the head. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I've been putting out information for the past year detailing some of our infrastructure and our budget deficiencies, some of the issues we're having, and quite frankly, it is disappointing, it is scary. Now, you don't hear a lot of clarity or transparency come from certain levels of the government because usually government officials only want to tout the things that they are successful at. So they'll say, look at this or look at this because it looks good. But what you end up finding out, like many of us have here recently, that when the foundation is crumbling, it doesn't matter how well the house is painted, things begin to fall apart. So let me briefly start with this, and then I'll sit down because you may have some questions. In the bank number 1, so the city has different bank accounts, different checking accounts, and multiple funds are in those accounts. You've heard a lot about insurance. January 30th of this year, insurance, the Employee Health Insurance Fund was nearly negative $8 million. People can't believe it, but in 2020, Rex Peckinpah and Mark Koger both called the mayor out on that issue when they discovered it was negative $4.9 million. And now we're $3 million more in the red. Here's the thing, that particular bank account has the insurance fund, it has the American Rescue Plan, most of the road funding, it has Lowett Public Safety, it has Riverboat, it has the EMS building project. All of these funds exist in one bank account. So as checks are being written and bills are being paid, there's certain funds that are going negative, while others are staying positive. And I will digress from there. My time is up, and I am more than willing to answer more questions about that. Now that I am the moderator, so what we'll do at this time, we'll take questions. If you have specific questions or general questions, what probably we should do because of time is let's just stand up here together. And then we'll each not step on each other's toes, and we'll take, 30 seconds or so to answer some of these questions. Well, I meant me and Corey. You guys had your time. So go ahead with any questions you may have. Yes, sir.
Council members and the Democrats also, when they raise their taxes, like you said, don't use that money wisely. Just don't let it blow away. Just go from there. I've seen things that's happened here lately, and it's not right.
Yeah, most definitely. If we raise taxes, we have to pay for it too, so we don't want to see it raised either.
Something done, something like that, that's such a thing.
Well, before we even look at raising taxes, we need to figure out where we're at. We got to get back to square one and then discuss it. If we get to square one, this group up here is not going to let it get to the way it was.
Let me jump in here, not to
Go
cut you
right ahead,
off,
you're good.
but I want a few minutes of time because of some of you guys are here specifically to hear what I say so you can report back. So, very specifically, raising taxes. Raising taxes isn't the answer. I served on the county council for 9 years, and many of them will tell you that in the beginning of my term, I began to see that we were spending ourselves into a hole. And then we ended the year in 2014 with $220 in the general fund with over 200 employees. And I began to say, okay, look, here's your proof. It's black and white. I'm using our own numbers. I had a council member confront me one time, and I know this may surprise some of you because I usually don't use this kind of language, but they were sitting in front of me when I was bringing up our issues, and he said to me, Clay, you're taking it too damn far. And I said, am I really? I said, because I'm using our own numbers to back up my point. And you know why? I presented the idea of a financial plan. Council didn't want to do it. Presented at year 2. Council didn't want to do it. Presented at year 3. Finally, with the help of one of the commissioners, we got it done. We got it done. We started 2015 with $220 in general fund. I just checked. When you work the plan works. Henry County ended last year with over $3 million in general fund. You cannot just keep spending here and there thinking you got all the money when you have funds going deep, 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 deep in the red. I've been working with the former comptroller for the city of Lawrence. I've been talking to people from State Board of Accounts. People know where we are. And proof is when they begin to cut back on EMS services. Now the hospital is trying to figure out what to do. My wife works there in the ER. I know what's happening. Have a patient. They can't find ambulance service to transport them because they need advanced life support. We just cut that out. They had to call in a helicopter to come transport that person. That's going to be a pretty massive medical bill. We had another individual that was trached. I don't know the names. We don't get into the HIPAA stuff. I just know the stories that they were trached. They had to be intubated. They're sitting there for hours and hours. They can't find transport. Why? We cut the services. Why did we cut the services? Because we don't have the money. But then we have the money to buy 3 brand new 2023 Grand Jeep Cherokees for approximately 3 people to drive, according to the news article. We all deserve better than this. Corey.
To piggyback off of what he said earlier, with the mayor being called out about the funds going negative and about us running out of money. A plan was put in place that within a couple years, it would fix it. And like he said, here we are 2-3 years later, it's almost doubled. Apparently that plan isn't working, and we need to have new blood in there. We need to have someone that can come in and open the books and look with fresh eyes and not have any kind of debts or entanglements or favors owed or anything to anyone else, that can actually look at how we've been spending your money and spend it wisely, spend it better. Are we spending on frivolous things that we don't need? Are we spending $10,000 on flowers to make one street look pretty? Are we doing stuff like that? And why are we doing stuff like that? And how does that make Newcastle a better, stronger city? We need to invest in our city. Not just slap a coat of paint on it and say, look at how great it is. We need to make it great. We need to make it strong and build it up. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second.
So this kind of trouble can't be dug out with a shovel, all right? We've got big problems. Up here, I'm not going to go through it with you, but when we get done, I want to describe to you what's up here because I want you to look at it. This is done by the city of Lawrence. At the end of every year, they dictate to you every fund balance at the end of every year. And this book is also in PDF format for every citizen to see. This book they place in strategic places. They print about 10 up. They can print 10 of these books for about $500. All the information is available to any citizen with pure clarity so that every citizen sees every fund balance. And on the website, when you click their financials, every fund balance is listed for the end of every month. So at any time, you could go on there today and you could see September 30th fund balances. So that way, the city council and you are not surprised like they were in June of 2020 when they began to, their eyes got this big and said, we are negative $4.9 million in employee health insurance fund. This kind of transparency, that's what presents that. We need to hold each other to the fire. You need to hold us to the fire. For far too long, too many people in government have taken advantage of their positions and their seats of authority and catered and siloed everything to themselves, buying up buildings, using city resources for personal use. It's got to stop.
I have a question for everyone. Well, as soon as he answers, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, I was just going to say accountability is the main thing. I think we're all going to hold each other accountable, but if you listen to a city council meeting and they all take their votes, it's all yes, 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 yes. There's no opposition. Everybody's just rubber stamping budgets. Everybody's rubber stamping, giving them 10,000 for this, 10,000 for this, 5,000 for a trip to Boston, this and all this other stuff. But yet you can't pay to put flyers down on Trojan Lane because the budget's we're running out of money. We have to be held accountable, and we have to hold each other accountable, and we have to ask the questions. I guarantee you, and I promise you, I won't vote yes or even vote on a single topic or ordinance without first personally speaking with somebody in my ward. We are your representative. It's not us. It's not our ideas. It's not our plans. It's yours. And so if we're not enacting your voice on city council, then we're not doing our job. But we have to hold each other accountable.
Mr. Darrell, when you're done typing.
On the issue of insurance, and I recognize how that has grown and how out of control that seems to be. How do you control it?
Well, first of all, we need to find out what's going on. Like he was saying, there's several funds out of the same account. Are we just using whatever money we have? Because you're not supposed to do that. If you need to borrow money from an account, you need to write up a proposal, take it to the council. They need to approve it, and then you can do stuff like that. I mean,
but what if the bill is due before the next council?
That's very tricky, and without being able to look at how things are being spent, I mean, why don't we have that money? I mean, if you go to the hospital, if you're a city employee and you go to a doctor, that bill's getting paid. How is it getting paid? I mean, the account keeps going negative, but I mean, if you write a check out of your own personal account that's in the red, it's not going to go anywhere, but things are being moved around, and I don't know how, and I don't know if things should be applied more appropriately and more adequately and what funds they are coming out of. But we need to find that out. I need to find that out. I need to get in there so I can open up the books and find out exactly how all of our money is being spent. Because it's infuriating that the people that protect us, the people that pick up our trash, the people that clean up our streets, the people that put out our fires, and the people that make this town work are being denied the things that they should have. And it's no way to run a city.
Well, that brings up a follow-up question.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm sorry. others can step in here, but the follow-up question is, obviously, your workforce is a key part of the city.
Absolutely.
And I've heard a lot about finances tonight. How in the world are we going to keep good employees and raise their salaries occasionally in these type of companies?
Let me step in on this one because
You gotta give me time here.
well, I want to jump in here because what you said is so key, because I've been endorsed by the employees union and I've heard their stories, and there's a reason I'm endorsed. And I've talked to them about that, and only one guy mentioned pay. They don't want me because of a raise. They're not demanding raises. They see where our insurance fund is. They're concerned about their future. They're concerned about the pay. They're concerned about their work trucks that we had a city employee just get hurt on. They're concerned about that. They asked for it. They're told we don't have any money. And one reason they support me is because they're tired of seeing what they've seen over the past 12 years. We had a great 6-year run, but they're tired of it. They want something different. That's why they've supported me. Lynn, insurance. Yes.
Okay, first of all, you got to understand, we are a self-funded insurance municipal, which means the first $2 million of claims each year, the city pays. Insurance does not get involved. That is the city bill. Now, that is a moving target. If no one has a catastrophic surgery or injury or something like that, then that money, we don't spend that money, obviously, then that's the money we can use to pay down the debt. So that's a moving target. The budget is a moving target all the time. Speaking of accounts, we have 17 checking accounts. Good luck. The state averages, the Board of Accounts recommend 3. We got 17. How it got there, I don't know.
Needs to change.
Yeah.
Why do we have 17?
Yeah.
I have
Council
more
wants to
questions.
know that too.
I have more
Okay.
questions. The more I look at the
Yeah, yeah.
reports, the more questions I have. I wish I had an answer. I wish I could wave a magic wand and we would be fiscally sound, but the reality is this is going to take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting, and it's going to take a lot of investigating and a lot of us working together to get to the bottom of it so we can start being safe.
Where we're at right now, let it be known, the council has nothing, we approve the budget, that's it. We don't micromanage, that's the department heads that come in, they get together, they say, this is what I need. The clerk treasurer says, yes, that's within our budget, we can afford that kind of thing. And so when we get the budget, we are told by the clerk treasurer that this budget will pass. Now, it'll flow. So that's where that is. To answer the question, yes, we do have an $8 million debt. We currently are working with Baker Tilly, a consulting firm that we contract with to work out a form. We have no revenue sources. There's tax caps. Everybody hates the word tax increases, so that's not going to happen. Got to come from somewhere. You know, folks, we got to own where we live. At some point, we got to divvy up. Whether it be taxes, whether it be in water rates, sewer rates, something, there's nowhere to get money. We go after every grant out there that we can possibly get. But we are currently working with Baker Tilly to resolve that $8 million debt, and I feel confident that we're going to get that taken care of.
Is the self-insurance part of it something that isn't working? Maybe you should do something else?
Here's what I've heard, because he mentioned self-insurance. That is true, and everybody goes there. Well, we're self-insured. Here's the great news, everybody. I've had 9 years of council experience with the county. We're self-insured. You know what happened? We made some adjustments. We saw where we were at. I'm used to speaking loud. We saw where we were at. We began to strategically work together. We began to pull ourselves out of a negative $780,000 deficit. We took it, we worked it, we planned it, we worked with people, and that fund ended with nearly $400,000 to $500,000 left in it at the end of 2022, while the city's self-insured fund ended at $6.9 million in the red. I know about self-insurance. I know how it works. And I know, and I am 100% confident that with time we can work on this. But here's the bad news. I've talked to people from State Board of Accounts. I've talked to comptrollers of other cities. And what they tell me is, you got a long way to go.
we potentially, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, without the help of the Lord, it could take us 10, 15 years to dig out of this hole. This hole's big, and you can paint it up any way you want, but we're all starting to fill it. And one of the first dominoes that fell was when they cut EMS. I understand how to work with these issues. I understand how to work with the budget. I understand how to work with self-funded insurance. Yes, sir.
I have a question. This goes back to, and Lynn, you were in charge of this, based on what you said at the council meeting or someone started this. The flowers that you guys were talking about on Trojan Lane, there was no tax dollars spent on that.
I worked for 2 years to raise that money down there to do that. That was done through private donations, food and beverage money. There was a little out of ARP spent for that project. Technically, you know, is it tax money? Somewhere along the line, but, you know, not local tax dollars, no. No.
We'll go up here since she hasn't asked a question yet.
How do you plan on fixing the problem with that? And do you really believe it's money
Me.
that causes our problem?
Okay. Time me. All right. I think there's various issues, to be quite honest. Okay. So from my understanding back a few years ago, when some of this financial situation was being discovered by the multitude, if you will, there was about $500,000 cut out of the EMS budget. Okay. EMS, as you know, started, there was a time a few years ago that it brought in so much funding that about 40% went into general fund. All right, so then it expanded. We worked on it. We developed a great system, in my opinion. Again, my wife's an ER nurse. They brag on them all the time. But somewhere along the line, something went wrong. Because now we got on the EMS building, that fund is negative $299,000. Our insurance fund, again, I keep hitting it. We overdrew total budget in Newcastle by $8.1 million last year. Do I think it's just a funding issue? No. It's not just a funding issue, but it's a major lack of financial accountability and financial wisdom. I 100% believe that that system can be restored based upon my experience with the county, based upon my conversations with experts in the field, and based upon what I have known for several years from hospital things that I hear, how they function. I believe 100% that we can restore EMS services in the city that we just lost within a year's time. I honestly feel that way. July 1st of this year, we're running out of time, but I got to get this in here. July 1st of this year, the state just passed a law that allows EMS to receive even greater reimbursements. I don't understand the weeds of it, but here's what I do know. I do know that Medicaid could only they would only reimburse at $1.25 per mile. Medicare was able to reimburse at $7 per mile. Big discrepancy. We have many, many Medicaid people. So that state law just equalized it. By not doing these services that we just cut out, we potentially cut ourselves out of nearly 300% more revenue for that service. I believe if we get our ducks in a row, we get our other financial spending in, because the insurance fund, it's in the same checkbook as the EMS building that's negative $300,000. We got to get our ducks in a row. One more question. We got to get out of here for the library's sake.
Okay, my question is, we all know we're underfunded from the state. Totally, you know, inflation's 9%, what are we getting back from the state? I hope you all realize, and I've said this to the county council, our commissioners, I hope that all counties in the state would go back to our state representatives and our state senators to ask for more money. We have went how long with not getting any extra money back? That's where it starts. You can dig up all your budgets, you're getting the same amount of money almost every year.
No, we get less.
The only way you're gonna make roads go state. They're in the black. How many millions? Billions. So realize that. That's where you need to start.
We're not getting the same back, Steve. We get less money every year.
There you go.
We
That's
get
what I'm
cut
trying to
every
say.
year.
Go back to
Yeah.
your state senators represented and get money back to the state.
Hey, Corey, can we have some more money?
All right, let's give 15, 20 seconds to Micah, then let's dismiss so we don't overstay our welcome, and then we are obviously free to talk as we venture out into the parking lot, just like church.
I believe a big word that can be used right now is complacent. I believe that city council is complacent, and I believe that they've been there for 10, 12, 15, 16 years. Listen, if you can't get something done in 8 years, it's time to move on. I believe it should be term limits, 2 terms, get in, get out, get the job done. If you can't get it done, then you need to move out of the way and let somebody else do it. But I believe looking for state and more money, I believe support Clay and Corey 100% will be bulldogs when it comes to that. They will seek out every grant. They will try to figure out everything they can do to help out in those scenarios. But also, I know the council doesn't write the budget, but also we have the ability to not approve things. So it doesn't mean we have to approve everything that comes down the pipeline. We can hold the mayor accountable, and these people standing here next to me, we will hold the mayor accountable for his financial decisions and decisions made within the community.
And I expect them to. All right, so you guys are dismissed. Thank you for coming tonight. All of us are more than willing to answer your questions as we move on out.
I was trying to say something.